What's up, everyone? January 26th, 2020. I think we got all the kinks ironed out. This is your WWE Royal Rumble pay-per-view recap. I am Don Tony. As always, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Tonight, I am not alone. Join along with me is...
Kev Castle. What's up, DT?
Yeah, what's going on? Royal Rumble just ended a few minutes ago, and not a bad pay-per-view. Not a bad pay-per-view. I tell you, I wanted Drew McIntyre to win. If Drew McIntyre was not going to win, my heart wanted to see Otis win, but Otis wasn't even in the Royal Rumble, which to me makes no sense whatsoever, but they gave it to Drew. What'd you think?
I was very happy with it. Like I said, my rep is I'm pro Reigns, but not tonight. With the right man, I always admit when something has to happen. And Drew McIntyre had to get the push. They had to do something new. The right man got the win. Now they just got to build him up a little more, get the crowd more into him. They're into him a little bit, but a couple of month build up, get some good fanfare, then have a nice ovation against Brock and maybe win the title.
Absolutely. And if anybody thinks, I'm sweating bullets right now, I am, because we actually had to start about 10 minutes late, because this is the first time we're streaming together, and Kev is on Discord and I'm on YouTube. And when you put both streams together, you get echoes, you get no audio, you get some audio. So, I think we're good to go now. But, I got to tell you, I enjoyed the Royal Rumble tremendously. I got everything right with the exception of just one match, which was the Women's Royal Rumble. But what did you think overall? I mean, the pay-per-view itself. What was your favorite match? I know we're kind of going backwards, but what was your favorite match tonight? What was your least favorite match tonight?
I believe it or not, I enjoyed Roman and Corbin pretty much. I thought it was a good match. I thought there was the pre-show I got, honestly, DT, I got rolling a little bit late because I did technically have to work today and I had to take some phone calls. So I got with the pay-per-view right when it started, the main show. So a little bit of the Humberto Andrade match, but mostly I saw the whole main pay-per-view. I thought Corbin and for Reigns, as much as everybody's sick of it, I think it was a pretty good match. My least favorite match, honestly, DT, was probably Becky and Lacey Evans. Lacey's just not there yet to challenge for the world title for the women's title. She's not there yet.
You mean Bayley and Lacey Evans?
Bayley, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Bayley and Lacey Evans. And my favorite match was the men's Royal Rumble. I liked the women's Royal Rumble. I thought that was good. I thought the matches were pretty good, but it's all about the Rumble tonight. It's all about the two Rumbles. The singles matches and stuff are fine, but it's all about the two Rumbles. Enjoyed the women's, really enjoyed the men's, but mostly for the outcome and the way Lesnar dominated in the beginning, and him tied the record with Strowman with 13 eliminations. Yeah. So I mean, the men's Rumble was what it was all about for me tonight.
I'll tell you, when Lesnar was getting all of those eliminations early, it was getting a little bit tiresome. But then I kept thinking about the predictions that I had made for the Royal Rumble, and for weeks and weeks, I've been saying Drew McIntyre versus Lesnar for Mania. And my pick to win the men's Royal Rumble was McIntyre. And, I know he really, they're just building him as a baby face now. But, as his eliminations went, my immediate reaction was, wow, there's a bunch of wrestlers that kind of had on their bucket list to just get their ass handed to them by Brock Lesnar before they retire. Yeah. But, as it went on, I said, you know what? Whoever eliminates Lesnar is going to get the biggest goddamn pop of the night. And, when McIntyre did it, look at that crowd. I know Edge got a wonderful response tonight when he came out, which I loved. I loved it because, people need to remember, Edge has done interview segments for WWE over the last couple of years, and some of his reactions outside of Canada has been mild. So I don't think anybody ever envisioned he would step back in the ring. And when he hit his music, the pop was great. But when Drew McIntyre eliminated Lesnar, I have not seen a crowd go to, quote, Gorilla Monsoon. Oh, no, Pat Patterson, banana. They just got out of their seat and went fucking nuts. And it made me feel good. not necessarily because Drew ended up winning it all, but that just shows you that if you as much as we rip WWE for some of the garbage we have on TV, at the end of the day, they see things that we see on piece of paper like, oh man, this doesn't look good. This doesn't make sense. Brock, he just dominated her. But in the end, that was my favorite match. The men's Royal Rumble match from beginning to end was great. My least favorite match was probably Bayley and Lacey Evans. I'm a fan of Lacey Evans. I know Mish and I have been defending her for a very long time. The gimmick is not great at all. Now it's like a tweener. Is she a Southern Belle? Is she, she's a military Southern Belle, which you can have. Yeah. But I wasn't feeling that match. And with all of the build, it's like Sasha Banks wasn't even in the Royal Rumble tonight. I don't know if she was injured or if they're going to go with this storyline now with Sasha versus Bayley at Mania for the women's title. But I tell you, I really enjoyed this Royal Rumble pay-per-view.
It was. It's one of the better ones. And me and you have been doing this for forever. I mean, let's be honest. We've been doing this for many, many years. I don't even know what number this is for me and you as far as doing a recap of the Royal Rumble. It's up there. But this is one of the better ones, without a doubt. I mean, I was, you're always open-minded. You're much more positive than the rest of the DTKC Show family in a lot of aspects. Sometimes we have a little preconceived notion about certain things. But I went into this, I always like the Royal Rumble. I usually watch it with a few people. This year I watched it by myself. Knew I was going to do this show and everything, so I was watching it. And I even told you I wasn't going to go on Twitter and go off on Twitter. Kept quiet on Twitter, interacted with the Discord, Pat Fam a little bit here and there, but really wanted to focus on watching this. And I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. I would be very surprised if I've seen anybody shit all over it. I think the women's Royal Rumble was really good. And DT, you think it was a hard act to follow with Bayley and Lacey Evans? They had no real chance because people might have been spent a little bit from the women's Royal Rumble?
No. And you know what? Shout out to Best in the World. He's ecstatic for Drew McIntyre winning as well. But,
yeah,
somebody had to follow a big match, and they decided they were going to have Bayley and Lacey Evans follow, a particular match. And that kind of, brought it back to everybody. I mean, some people, just don't have it. Sasha and Bayley are a team, but, this almost, put it this way, I think Charlotte with Becky Lynch, Charlotte with Asuka and Kairi Sane. If you remember those bunch of weeks where Charlotte was just getting her ass handed to her by the Kabuki Warriors, then they had to bring Becky into the mix to make it a tag team for, one of the pay-per-views. But if you would have just had Asuka and Kairi Sane speaking English, I think people would have been like, wow, Charlotte, Kabuki Warriors, Lacey Evans, the Boston Hug connection. It's like you can't have, just because they're tag team partners, you can't have two women feuding with one woman because it gets thrown all over the place. And, you got to focus Bayley, Lacey Evans. Bayley, Lacey Evans. If you're going to have Sasha with the kid and all this other stuff, then have Sasha, Lacey Evans. You keep going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. It's like, it's just really hard to invest in stuff like that. And I think that's the reason why the Kabuki Warriors Charlotte feud was caca. Not the fact that the women can't compete. Asuka, Kairi Sane are two of the top women talents in WWE, and so is Charlotte. But I just could not get into the Lacey Evans Bayley storyline. I thank God that the Roman Reigns Baron Corbin storyline appears to be over. It was not a bad match today, but this is just a feud that it's almost like the Lana marriage storyline. It just went on and on and on. Matthew, yes, shout out to Matthew Rychecki. We are going to bring that up. Actually, you know what? Let's bring it up now. Earlier today, I did an episode of Breakfast Soup with Mish, episode 99. It's on Patreon right now. And we went live at 3 o'clock. So I decided I was going to sneak in like a late lunch. So I went to the diner with my fiance. And around 1 o'clock. And as we're driving to the diner, we hear on the news about LeBron James passing Kobe Bryant to become third in the all-time point score leader in the NBA.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, you realize how many years have gone by, not just for Kobe, but for LeBron James. So we have lunch and everything, and we come home, and I go on Facebook just to see what's going on, and I see rest in peace, Kobe. And my immediate thought was, all right, LeBron passed Kobe Bryant scoring. People are just trying to get triggered and rub it in Kobe's face that he's no longer the third. And then I see helicopter crash. And then I see on Twitter, Kobe Bryant trending. Now, if this would have been yesterday when LeBron first passed him, I would have said, okay, I understand why he's trending. But then I start reading it and I see, my God, helicopter crash, Kobe Bryant dead, 41 years old. I just finished paying tribute Friday to Justice Payne, who committed suicide at 41 years old. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? And look, I've said many times before, I fell out of love with the NBA for quite some time now, diehard New York Knicks fan, but there's no denying, how big Kobe Bryant is to not only basketball, but, culture and sports for our generation.
Oh, yeah.
And, look, I feel bad for Jose Fernandez, Pat Tillman, Drazen Petrovic, who also died tragically. But, and I don't like comparing deaths, but anybody out there that may not follow basketball at the NBA, you have no idea how tragic. It's bad enough his 13-year-old daughter was killed as well. But Kobe Bryant is one of the, it's almost like, I don't know what it was like in the 20s, but it's almost like hearing that Lou Gehrig died in a fucking helicopter crash. Yeah. Rest in peace. It's such a sad, tragic day.
It's true, DT. What you said, I felt the same way. I was working and I was on multiple calls with some booking agents and stuff. And they said, one agent said to me from California, he says, yeah, we're all just shell shocked here about what just happened with Kobe. I'm like, and I said, you mean the other guy passing the record? He goes, no, dude, he's dead. I was like, what? Kobe Bryant's not dead. He goes, nah, he's dead. Helicopter, him and his daughter. That's how I knew about it. I was talking to somebody in Cali. And, I got online and I was checking. I says, how could that be? Because isn't it, DT, once again, the eeriness of that. The first story of the day was about the passing of the record. And then it seemed like minutes later, it was about him dying in a helicopter accident. What sad irony.
On YouTube, I just put up a picture of the basketball team. From what I understand, they were on their way to basketball practice. And the helicopter went down. Now, I've seen still shots of what some people were putting online. I'm like, I can't click on that. I have no interest in reading that. But, man, that's just really, family, friends, fans, it's just our condolences. It's just, it's one of the, this obviously brings back memories of August 2nd, 1979, when Thurman Munson died in a plane crash.
I remember that well.
I have the footage still. I have.
Oh, you have the footage of it?
Yeah, I have the footage of the news reports. I have clips that they covered the funeral. I have the infamous Bobby Mercer game when it first recorded. Not only do I have, that, but so much footage from then. And, I just remember, sitting at a TV, about 9 years old, and Channel 11, WPIX, I don't remember the guy's name, but, he just said Thurman Munson got killed in a plane crash. And all I remember, and it's weird how sometimes things, because other people have died tragically, over the years, but I remember as a kid getting these chills on my spine over and over and over again as I'm watching this. And it was just surreal. And, just to see this happen, for anybody that's much older than us, you probably remember Roberto Clemente, what happened in I think 1972. But
yeah, I believe so.
This is just tragic and just a really sad story. But, everybody is paying tribute. Get a couple of trolls here and there to just looking to, just to start shit. But
you kind of,
because
really
of
the controversy with the girl years back. And that wasn't the point. The point today. Not to be dismissive of that or anything. Let's not even get into that. But just the loss of life of a man who was a very charitable man as well. DT. He was very, regardless of any flaws in his younger years or what he did or what he might have done or what your thoughts are in his later years, especially in recent years. He's always been very charitable. He's always been a good fixture in the community, especially in Los Angeles. Good father. Again, the daughter dying is that just makes it even so much worse. And it's a real tragic day. It is. It's almost surreal. I think even tomorrow, a lot of people are going to be like, Kobe Bryant is dead. It's almost that hasn't really sunk in yet for a lot of people, I think.
Yeah. So, just rest in peace and just tragic. I mean, just really
and
tragic.
DT, that is true. Anybody who remembers, I don't know, DT, you know who he is, DT. I don't know how much of a fan you are, but this reminds me of 1990. Stevie Ray Vaughan died in a helicopter accident.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So that for you guitar buffs out there and rock and roll fans, the great Stevie Ray Vaughan died tragically too in a helicopter accident in 1990. When these things happen,
When we did Breakfast Soup early, I think there were up to 5 or 6 that had died, and I think now it's up to 9.
Oh God. Yeah, and then it's terrible for all those people too, not to be dismissive of anybody, everybody. It's a tragedy for everybody involved.
Yeah. On a lighter note, let's get back to the Royal Rumble.
Yes.
For those that don't know, and I don't know why he was cutting a Scott Steiner promo online, but as people could see right now, Sammy Guevara was in front of the arena tonight for the Royal Rumble. Now, why he did not wear an AEW shirt just blows me away, but he tried to just look, for those that don't follow Sammy Guevara, some of his videos, he was recently at a hockey game. Like, he does a lot of comedic stuff, like he's talking about basketball, but meanwhile he's at a hockey game. Like, so he's got a toy tank, like the DX invasion at WCW. And he's got his feet inside this little toy, tank that you would buy on Amazon for like $60. And he's cutting a promo, talking about, that he's acting like Scott Steiner, and he's talking about the Sacrifice pay-per-view and, just trying to be funny. But, if you go online, you'll see those photos. It's pretty funny. Some people are like, Sammy who? Sammy Guevara of AEW. Come on. You know who Sammy Guevara is. I don't have the video handy, but I just posted a still shot of him in front of the arena. But hey, they set a record for, I guess, a non-Astros game in the arena tonight. They had like 48,000 people attending.
Did they say 42,000? And I think the previous record was held by actually Taylor Swift.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, that's what I heard. That's what I heard.
Very rarely do you get a Kaka Royal Rumble. I mean, I had played some flashbacks of 2017 when the world just absolutely hated Roman Reigns entering his number 30. And, towards the end, I think some people, although Roman Reigns is much more cheered than he was 3 years ago, I think some people were fearing that Roman Reigns could possibly win it again this year. But as I was saying on Friday with my pay-per-view predictions, Roman Reigns did not have to win the Royal Rumble to face the Fiend at WrestleMania. A lot of people seem to forget that we have Elimination Chamber to deal with.
That's right. Yeah,
and
you're right.
We'll probably have a match at Elimination Chamber to determine who is going to be facing the Fiend at Mania. And by the way, speaking of the Fiend, and I know we're jumping back and forth because that's what we always do. I know a lot of people were saying, oh, thank God, WWE, they finally got rid of the red lighting for the Fiend and this and that. Enjoy it tonight. I don't know if that's a permanent fixture of having regular lighting. In case people did not understand, the reason why, more than anything, they did not use the red light tonight is because of the simple fact that they wanted to show off all of the strap marks that Daniel Bryan was going to be getting in this match. And they took liberties all night long to show us all of the strap marks that Daniel Bryan was getting whipped. So if you have that red lighting, you're really not going to see that effect of those red marks on the back. But I guess we could get into the pay-per-view.
Sure.
Before anything, there was some news going around online that Brock Lesnar and Matt Riddle got into a little confrontation in the locker room. Don't know if it was filmed, a la Goldberg, Riddle, but people may forget Matt Riddle has said in the past that he wants to retire Brock Lesnar and he wants the rub from Brock Lesnar. And apparently they crossed paths in the back and some words were exchanged. I don't know if that's going to lead to anything, but they also said that Lashley and Rusev, apparently had some, so they weren't even in the Royal Rumble. There was some names missing in the Royal Rumble tonight on the men and the women's side. But the pre-show tonight had Sheamus pretty much destroying Shorty G. I don't think anybody out there thought that there was going to be anything different with that. Did you see that match?
No, I told you I got to the game late, so to speak. I got there in time for Humberto and Andrade.
Humberto and Andrade really tore it up. I mean, they had a great match. Mm-hmm. Still fans are still very new with Humberto. I didn't think there was any chance of Andrade losing the belt tonight unless there was going to end up being a split between him and Zelina Vega. But it was an excellent match for a pre-show. Fans got into it. And in the end, Andrade gets the win. Mm-hmm. But tonight we have the opening bout, which ended up being a street fight, Falls Count Anywhere, Roman Reigns versus Baron Corbin. They fought all across the building. Usos got involved, Ziggler, Bobby Roode. They were brawling on the top of the visiting dugout on the third baseline, and it was fun. I mean, it was in the building, where the Houston Astros play. And, for those out there that did not understand why the fans were chanting USA, USA, and shout out to Stone Mexican Guy. Thank you, my friend. The international announcers tables in the back area were, getting smashed because of this match. And you could actually hear some of the Japanese commentators and some others really, really loud and animated. So when they went through the international tables, all the fans that were around that area, they saw the commentators and they were all the international commentators. So they looked at the commentators and were going, USA, USA.
Well, that's
I would, I saw people like, oh, that's fucked up and this and that. Just not a big deal. They were having fun, but
I think it was more just for fun.
You know what my favorite part of that match was, and it wasn't the outhouse. It was the fact that while they were brawling around the entranceway or the crowd, shout out to CM Black Pixels who showed up with some signs, and they actually made camera once again.
Oh yes, thank you to CM. He tagged us earlier in the day. Yes.
What'd you think of that match?
I liked it. I told you I enjoyed it. I'm tired of the feud, but I think they took it to a good place to close it out. As soon as I saw, Reigns get jumped, I was like, here we go again. But, falls count anywhere. It's going to be no DQ. And the Usos got involved, to get them involved in this whole thing, obviously, back in Roman. Then when they're on top of the dugout and stuff, I enjoyed that. It was fun. The crowd was really getting into it at that point. At first, it was a little lackluster. And then as more involvement, more people got involved and they were doing more extreme things to each other, crowd was getting into it. So not a bad way to kick it off. Like you said, DT, it's time to close out this feud. It's done. Nobody cares anymore. But this was at least a good way to go out with some reaction. Reigns got a good pop when he won.
Yeah, Benjamin, there's always signs in the crowd. I just like to show love for people who shout us out and show a little appreciation back. So
yeah, exactly.
It's not about gushing or pandering. It's just, us saying thank you.
And CM's a friend of ours. So.
CM Black Pixels. So, but look, it was a fun match. I mean, the ending to me was a little bit blah. The spear on the dugout and this and that. I think you probably expected explosions and fireworks, or maybe going through 3 tables, or Corbin is incapacitated. It was just the ending felt a little uneventful, but they worked their ass off. It was a fun match. The crowd enjoyed it. It's just this storyline I just never could get into. I didn't give a shit about the dog food. Like I said, if you go back and you see when he's handcuffed, You know, he shows no pain or reaction when he's getting slapped or punched or this, and that. But the minute he has a little dog food in front of his face, he's like, thank God this storyline is over with. Now, the big question is, who is Baron Corbin going to feud with next? Who eliminated Corbin tonight? Was it Drew McIntyre?
Yeah, it was Drew. Drew did, right?
Drew McIntyre, if you go back, Drew McIntyre eliminated some very important people tonight. I could arguably say that some of the biggest, I don't want to say heels, but the people who the fans wanted to see eliminated more than anybody, it seemed that Drew McIntyre was involved, for a lot of them. But, Corbin, Reigns, it's about time that Roman Reigns got a win with this, because if anybody looks back at the feud, there was several pay-per-views and several events that we said, okay, Roman Reigns is going to win this one, and that's the end of it. And every time, over and over and over again, Corbin.
Right.
So finally, Roman Reigns gets the win, get rid of the storyline, move on. The only thing is I don't know if it's sunk into everybody about the Fiend versus Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. Now, that could very well end up not happening. You never know. You might see something with Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns. I don't think that'll happen, but, a lot of people feel that Reigns and Fiend is the next in line. And I don't know how that's going to be received. I see more and more people complaining online of the Fiend as a champion. And, I disagree with that wholeheartedly. I think Bray Wyatt has done a phenomenal job. I got a kick today when he was outside the ring and there was a fan that was screaming out loud, like all his stuff, and fan went, "Yowie, wowie!" And Bray turned around and started laughing. There's just little mannerisms about Bray that I really enjoy. I just don't know if I want to see Roman Reigns beat him at WrestleMania.
Well, it's interesting, DT. Like you had said, Reigns didn't have to win tonight to get a championship title with the other champion. Everyone was so focused on that because, and in fun, no one was giving me a hard time about it. We were just kind of going back like, oh, your boy Reigns is going to win tonight. I'm like, I don't think he is. And he doesn't have to. He's on the other brand. He can challenge without winning the Rumble tonight. I don't know why everybody's fixated on that. The fix is in. He's going to beat Lesnar. Here we go again. And I'm like, I don't think so. And I know you were saying, DT, that does not have to happen. So everyone really thought that was in, the fix was in, so to speak. And I'm like, nah, I think it's Drew's time. And listen, they're both champions. And I get it. Reigns still gets the vie for the title, take it off the Fiend, whatever. But now that Daniel Bryan has been, defeated again pretty soundly, where do they go from here, DT, if it's not Roman Reigns on that brand? Who challenges?
You know what? I think somebody will probably come out and just taunt Daniel Bryan, or maybe we'll have a backstage segment where Daniel Bryan, like, he doesn't know where he's going to go from here, and he'll get the Acme Insta feud. Like, somebody will be walking by and bump into him and say, you lost again, and that'll end up with maybe some fisticuffs going back and forth, and right. Maybe that leads to, again, people need to remember Elimination Chamber. WrestleMania is still not for a little over 2 months away. Right. So we are, and plus we have Saudi Arabia. My God, they announced Saudi Arabia officially tonight. And, look, anybody that's listened to my Saudi Arabia recaps, I've actually been very warm to the events. Sure, some of the matches are to please the Saudi prince and, everybody there. And Mansoor, obviously, as long as they don't give the heavyweight title to Mansoor for even a day. But, the thing is, and this is the only reason why I don't like Saudi Arabia in the midst of the road to WrestleMania. Shout out to Daniel Rockstar. What's up, man? The only reason why I don't want Saudi Arabia in the road to WrestleMania is because there's going to be at least one or two matches that have zero to do with WrestleMania that, Saudi may be paying a lot of money for. And WWE now has to take weeks of television and dedicate that time towards Saudi Arabia matches that probably have nothing to do with the road to WrestleMania. I mean, after the Royal Rumble, it's supposed to now be officially the road to WrestleMania. And it feels like instead of it being the road to WrestleMania, it's like Saudi Arabia, and, yes, Kane versus The Fiend. We saw that graphic pop up online, and it looks like it may be Kane versus The Fiend. By the way, what happened to Kane tonight? He cut the fucking promo, Royal Rumble, and nothing. Nothing. What happened to that?
Was that how he sounded on the promo?
Suck it. No, I mean.
Where was the other Kane, DT?
They're going to dedicate, and see, that's why it's like, okay, Roman Reigns, if he's going to feud with The Fiend, and The Fiend now has to WWE has to blow their load for the next 2 or 3 weeks to having The Fiend take on Kane, then it's like, okay, what is Roman Reigns going to do for the next 3 weeks? Are we going to have Reigns and Ziggler and the Usos and Reigns and, I just get rid of I don't know. I don't know, but I'm just, something tells me that the Saudi Arabia event is going to screw up a lot of matches. But getting back to the Royal Rumble, I guess we could get into this next. The Women's Royal Rumble match.
Yes.
My pick, if she would have appeared, was Ronda Rousey. But I also said something earlier today on Breakfast Soup, and I said a little of this on Friday too. Whoever the first Royal Rumble match it was going to be tonight was going to give you an idea if Rousey was going to show up or not. And the reason why I said that is if Rousey was going to be a surprise entrant for the Royal Rumble, there was no fucking way that they would have chose Drew McIntyre to close out the Rumble pay-per-view and then have Ronda Rousey 1 hour in pointed to the WrestleMania banner. If Rousey would have appeared, she would have closed out the pay-per-view. So the fact that the women's match went on early told me, number one, Ronda Rousey's not going to be in it tonight. And number two, there's going to be a little bit of a surprise winner on the men's side. I didn't think they were going to close out with Roman Reigns with the pay-per-view because I think a lot of people would have just had flashbacks to 17 and here we go again, back to the same thing. And so when the women opened up early, that pretty much ruined me for Rousey appearing. But my pick, if Rousey wasn't going to be in it, was Shayna Baszler. And I really wanted to see Shayna Baszler. And something I thought I said earlier that's probably one of the most important comments I can make tonight is AEW and NXT have been on television now for many, many months. And the one thing that I have noticed with NXT that is really frustrating to this point, one thing frustrates me more than anything about NXT right now, and it's that they have been on USA Network for quite some time. WWE has not graduated anybody, I don't want to say worthy, but anybody with big time power to the main roster. I know a lot of people want to see Keith Lee just go to the main roster and tear it up. Obviously, it's not happening because he's a North American champion right now. Right. But they have not graduated anybody since AEW started from, of importance from NXT to the main roster. I thought Shayna Baszler winning the Women's Rumble tonight would have been that first person who has finally graduated since NXT's been on the USA Network. Goes to the main roster, but here's something else that I said on Friday. My fear about today was Charlotte winning. Charlotte is my favorite female on the WWE main roster. To me, she is the number one female in wrestling over the last 10 years, bar none. Some other women have more talent, but they don't have every tool that Charlotte has. What I said on Friday, I don't mean to talk so much, Kev. I want to make this point. I want you to comment on it. But what I said on Friday was I have this fear, and it may not be a bad fear, but I have this fear that WWE is going to do what they did with Goldberg. Goldberg fought in Saudi Arabia with Undertaker, and it was a disaster. Goldberg got injured. We know what happened, blah, blah, blah. What WWE did, and it was a wonderful thing that they did, I was very happy for this. I had no problem with Dolph Ziggler getting destroyed. But what WWE did was they righted the wrong with Goldberg. They didn't want to leave everybody, including Goldberg and Undertaker, with that sour taste in their mouth that the last match we have seen of Goldberg is what happened in Saudi Arabia. So they righted that wrong by having him come back, squash Ziggler in a minute, and now it's okay, we close that chapter. Goldberg on top. Goldberg shows he could still do it. Fans are happy. They righted the wrong. And my fear Friday, what I was saying is, they might be trying to do the same thing with Becky Lynch, Ronda Rousey, and Charlotte. The ending of the WrestleMania main event, because they had so much invested in these women. Look, hand injury, you don't expect that. But the fact that they had to edit out the finish, the way Ronda was pinned and all that stuff, that got blown in their face. And it wasn't fair to the three women who busted their butts for all of those months. They earned the right to main event at Mania. But WWE doesn't want to leave that main event with what went down in the closing moments. So my fear is we may get Charlotte, Rousey, Becky 2, or we may get Becky, Rousey, or Rousey, Charlotte. We may get a combination thereof. They may not close out Mania this year, but I feel WWE may be trying to right that wrong, and Charlotte winning that Rumble today gives me that feeling, because why wouldn't Charlotte challenge Becky? You know what I mean? Like, if Charlotte challenges Bayley, that leaves no storyline for Sasha Banks. That would be dopey. So Charlotte challenging Becky, I think if Ronda Rousey's not pregnant, they're not going to waste another whole year for another WrestleMania to go by. She'll come back, get her payday, do the three-way again, and then maybe she leaves and this time gets impregnated. What do you think about all that?
Well, I'll give you credit because you're good at these tells. We do good analysis, both of us. We have different thought processes, but you're correct on something that you just said before all this, which was that you knew by the placement of the match, it was too early for Ronda to come out. Honestly, DT, I didn't even think about that. But now that you say it, it makes sense. I was still hoping down to the wire that Ronda Rousey could come out. I didn't have that state of mind, but now like I said, it's a little tell. You're good at that. And I mean that wholeheartedly. I didn't think about that. And now you just said it. I'm like, yeah, he's right. It was too early for her to come out. That to get a big star like that out that early in the card has to be something that would happen later. You're right. History shows that's correct. So, yeah, gave up hopes on Ronda coming out. So my pick, too, I thought Ronda would come out. She didn't. I even thought Ruby Riott would maybe be back, didn't. But I also picked long shot, dark horse, Bianca Belair, who did very good in the Rumble tonight. 33 minutes
awesome.
and 20 seconds.
She was awesome.
She was great, right? I like her. She's got like a little bit of a hater crew going on because a lot of people shitting on her online. I was kind of surprised. I think she's great. I like Bianca Belair a lot.
She's very talented. We thought that she was going to end up with the record for the most eliminations, but I think Baszler ended up tying her tonight. I think they both eliminated 8.
And you're right, DT. With the Charlotte thing, I wasn't happy that Charlotte won. I was like, fuck. And I like Charlotte too. I'm a big fan. She's one of the best. You guys could maybe not like the, favoritism that's shown her way, but she earned it. She's good. It's not just because she's Rick's daughter. She's really good. You got to admit when someone's good. Okay? You don't have to like them or be a fan, but you got to give props. I wanted Shayna Baszler to win. It was cool the way Shayna came out and tossed people around, got a lot of eliminations right out the box. But in the end, Charlotte gets the Duke. And you're right, it makes sense. Former friend or friend versus friend. You got Charlotte versus Becky. And then on the other side of the spectrum, you're right, DT. It's got to be Bayley versus Sasha. Sasha's tired of Bayley at the spotlight. Those two matches have to happen, I think, at Mania. Unless they throw Ronda in the mix, like you said, if she's not pregnant, she comes back, or some sort of three-way that could kind of do justice to the injustice that happened last year. It did leave a sour taste in everybody's mouth, DT, you're right. It went too late. There were some botches. It didn't end the way it was supposed to. Ronda got hurt, had surgery. There's a lot of things that just went wrong with that match. And it's a shame because they did earn a spot, but it's not the way you want to go out. They want to probably redo it or just maybe in a different fashion. But I think, Charlotte, why would she go after Bayley? It has to be Charlotte versus Becky, but maybe throw, like you said, DT, Ronda in the mix, do it all over again and do it right. I mean, I'd say that's 50-50 chance at this point for Mania. Would you say, DT? Not the main event, but do it all over again, a rematch, kind of like the way they had Austin and Rock rematches over the years. This time, they can get them in the middle of the card and do it right.
We've had 3 opponents feud multiple times. Hardy's, Edge, and Christian and Dudley's come to mind right away. But one thing,
but they always had a great match. DT. They never really. Did you ever really feel they needed to do it over from the year previous?
No. I mean, that was in demand. I just think that if they're going to do this again, they should not close it out again. And I also feel that needs to be pulled back a little bit compared to last year, because last year, look, anybody remember the segment with the cars in the back and Ronda Rousey like driving with her feet and all this stuff? And, it's just, that was just too over the top, breaking windows and beating up every man that you could possibly think of, cops, it just, this needs to be scaled back quite a bit. They cannot, because last year, I think a lot of people will agree with this. They invested so much energy in Ronda, Becky, Charlotte, that a lot of male wrestlers suffered because of it. There were a lot of people that really just had no momentum whatsoever. I mean, just week after week. And it's not about women or men. If a women's match entertains me more than a men's match, fine. I have no issue with that. I just don't want to be force-fed something simply because it needs to fit an agenda or because of this. I said on Friday, what Becky said about why do we have to have the women's name attached to belts, and people are going batshit over that, it's freaking semantics. So what? Yeah. If they say, oh, it's the Smackdown championship, so what? I mean, if you're confused, you'll be confused for 5 seconds. If the announcer says the following match is for the SmackDown Championship, the minute the entrance music plays, you're going to know it's the women's match or the men's match. People just making semantics and getting, all, their balls in a bunch for nothing. But they cannot spend that kind of time again this year compared to last year. If you're going to do that, do it on SmackDown. Do it on Fox. Do it, with all the sports ties to it. Sure, it could probably happen more on Raw because of the extra hour, but I don't think they need to spend that kind of energy. They already proven that they could main event, but you can't force it again this year. And if they close out Mania for a second year in a row and there's another disappointing finish, now instead of pulling the knife out, you're just twisting it and you're just pissing people off. So we'll see what happens. It was nice to see, some surprises in the Women's Royal Rumble. For anybody that goes back with me in the 90s, we saw Marcy tonight. You might remember her from Married with Children. She showed up wearing... Yeah, she showed up wearing the Mighty Molly outfit. Tell me Molly Holly doesn't look like Marcy from Married with Children right now. She has,
anybody know the name of that actress without having to go? Amanda Beers, is that her name?
Amanda
Marcy
Beers.
Darcy. Marcy Darcy. She has morphed into, she's still a nice looking woman, Molly Holly, but she's looking more and more like Amanda Beers every time I see her. And it was cool to see her back. Not too many throwbacks tonight, DT. Molly Holly, of course. Who else was there? Beth Phoenix, who we've seen.
Yeah, did you see what happened to her head?
No, what happened to Beth Phoenix?
She was bleeding like a pig. There was a spot with her and Bianca Belair.
Yeah, now I remember. Who did that? Bianca Belair?
I think it was during her back and forth with Bianca Belair. She got rammed into the ring post. She landed the wrong way. And she was bleeding profusely. I tell you, I brought this up before when they brought back Beth Phoenix. She's awesome in the NXT booth. But as far as wrestling goes, WWE never spent enough time to explain to current young fans why they should give a shit about Beth Phoenix. And Beth Phoenix got a very lackluster reaction when she came back and wrestled that match that time with Natty.
For the second or third time, she did a couple of times before that too. Yeah. But Kelly got a pretty good reaction.
Yeah, Kelly's really surprised me with the reaction tonight. The funny thing about it is, Carmella, when she got in the Women's Rumble, She did the same two things pretty much what Kelly Did. She did the spin.
She did.
And then Carmella kind of sort of did the Bronco Buster in the corner. And I'm like, okay, I could see Carmella. Now, look, I have nothing against Carmella. You know, I know that I've said things in the past, but, you know, I've warmed up to her. I don't know if Carmella's ever revealed in an interview that Kelly sort of inspired her a little bit with her repertoire. But if you go back and you watch Kelly tonight and then watch what Carmella did, you know, it was pretty funny. They're almost identical. Almost identical.
It was. You're right. You're correct, actually. And but yeah, besides Beth Phoenix and Kelly and Marty Molly, not too many throwbacks tonight. Just them three. Was there another one? Am I missing one, guys?
No, but the one that I really enjoyed, well, Tamina, you know, is sort of back. We didn't get any Nia Jax. But I loved the spot that they did with Mandy Rose. Mandy Rose got knocked out inside the ring, and she landed on top of Otis, and Otis just happened to be there. And she climbs up on Otis and gets back in the ring. Man, I am so disappointed that Otis was not in the Royal Rumble today. You know, I thought originally, okay, maybe Seth Rollins is not going to be in it because he's a tag team champion right now. And I really thought, man, this crowd is, and you know, I don't want to keep jumping back and forth, but, you know, I thought of an idea if Otis would have won tonight. I joked with Mish earlier that they could have done the same thing with Rocky too, that they could have had a backstage segment during the Royal Rumble where, you know, like Otis sees Mandy in the back and he's all shy and he's like, hi, Mandy. And, you know, wish me luck for the Royal Rumble. And then just have Mandy Rose say to him, like really, really soft and sexy, you know what I want you to do for me tonight? Just like Rocky 2 when Adrian was in the coma. And Otis just looks at her and Mandy says, win. I think if that son of a bitch was in the Royal Rumble and he would have won it at that particular, I think the place would have probably gone even more bonkers than they did for Drew McIntyre.
That's pretty cool, DT. That actually could have worked. And I don't know why he wasn't in the Rumble. Doesn't make sense. He should have been in it. But that was a nice, a fun spot. Her standing on his stomach. And I was watching to say, well, God, I hope she doesn't lose her balance. And you saw him looking up at her like, hold steady. You know, because you know she easily could have slipped off of him. Yeah, but that was a fun spot, and I like this storyline. It's one of the better things on SmackDown right now.
It was a fun spot. It kind of got overshadowed because we got the return of Naomi. Naomi got knocked outside the ring, and Naomi for several minutes is just standing on top of the timekeeper's table. Now I know it made sense because she's trying to figure out how do I get back in the ring without touching the floor. And she took the top of the announcer's table and she walked right across it. And I thought it was a great spot. But then she got eliminated almost immediately after. And I'm like, you waited all of that just to get eliminated anyway? Like almost immediately after. And I'm like, you know, they did not need to do the Kofi Kingston moment with Naomi. It was nice to see her back. You know, she's talented. It's a shame that they kept her off for this long because she's been recovered for a while. But, you know, it was nice to see her. I'll tell you what it was not nice to see. The only way I would have accepted it is if he would have been in the Men's Royal Rumble too. That would have been Santino Marella. You know, showing up as Santina, look, you're going to get social media triggered. Joey Numbers was on point. You know, as soon as Santina came out, you knew some people in the net were just going to go triggered over it. But I thought, you know, if he would have been in the Men's Royal Rumble too, and that kind of is history because it's the first man, the first person to be in both Royal Rumbles. I don't recall, was Nia Jax in both the men's and the women's? Anybody in the chat?
Last year, I believe she was. Last year,
she might have been both, but maybe the first man. See, that's the reason why I would have wanted that tonight. Because if Nia Jax was in both before, and then you have Santina and Santino in both, you can't like, oh, it's cool for Nia Jax to do it, but it's not for Santino Marella. I just feel that spot was not needed. You know, the comedy thing with Beth Phoenix, I don't know how many people in the crowd really remember that all that much. Him doing the Cobra to himself and eliminating himself, it was a minute of comedy. I'll take it. But it's like, you know what? I don't think that was needed. I think they could have, saved that spot for somebody else. In my
opinion. And DT, once again, did they suffer from who's this guy in the crowd?
No, they knew who he was. And, okay. It was nice to see him. Don't get me wrong. But I just feel if they were going to do that, put him in the Men's Royal Rumble too. And just kind of like, just say he tried to sneak in the Women's Royal Rumble by dressing up as a woman, and he was also in the Men's Royal Rumble. Even if he would have eliminated, I could picture him later on going into that ring with Brock Lesnar after everything that Brock Lesnar did to others, and then he does the Cobra to himself, eliminating himself. Like before Brock even puts his hand on him, he goes in the ring and goes, ah! And then he just like eliminates himself. That's what I would have liked to have seen. I would have even not minded a replay of what happened many years ago. The minute Santina hit the ring today, Beth Phoenix eliminates him in 1 second, and Santina says, oh, I wasn't ready yet. And then he enters the ring later on, and then he sees Brock, gets scared, eliminates himself, and then that's how you use it. That's where I would have had no problem.
No, I agree with you. And two girls, DT, probably won't get much publicity, so to speak, that I like enjoying seeing tonight was Mercedes Martinez.
Yeah,
who I thought made a nice little showing. And I'm digging this Shotzi Blackheart girl a lot, actually. I like her.
Yeah.
But she's good. But Mercedes Martinez, nice. It's good that, with 39 years old and finally getting a shot at the big time and stuff after all these years. And I know AEW passed on her, which is baffling to me that they passed on her. But it was cool to see her in the Royal Rumble tonight. Mercedes, she's got something, and I hope even at her age and stage they can push her as far as it can go.
I wouldn't put it down this far in the level, but it kind of reminded me when Carlos Colon entered the Royal Rumble. Like, all right, 39 years old.
DT, that Colon was way past his age.
Yeah, I mean,
that's
it was
like
much
when
older than
Kabuki was
that,
in the Royal Rumble, DT.
Mercedes Martinez has so many people to leapfrog over. Look, Mish and I, because, we talk more about indies and stuff, but that's the only reason why I keep mentioning his name. No other reason than that, but we said last year when someone had asked us, like, name one woman that you wanted to see on TV last year that did not get the opportunity you thought she should have gotten. And we both, not even knowing each other's answer, we both chose Mercedes Martinez. I just feel there's so many people that she'd have to leapfrog to get any momentum. She's there to help bring the women of tomorrow and help bring them up to another level. I think that's her purpose, but they showed some respect for her tonight.
They did.
The crowd, appreciated her. Not a big reaction, but it was nice to see her, without a doubt.
What do you think of Shotzi? Do you think she's got something?
I was talking about it last Wednesday. It was pretty funny that last Wednesday on AEW and NXT, we had one show where a woman in December of 2018 shoved a bloody tampon in her opponent's mouth. It wasn't real blood, but that was, on AEW. And then on NXT, we had a woman on there who was selling pictures of her feces for $5 a pop. Shotzi Blackheart, for people that don't know, in early 19, I think it was, around there, she was selling pictures of her crap for $5 a piece. I thought it was BS at the time until we actually covered it.
No, I didn't know if now I'm actually hearing that that's true. I didn't think that was true.
Yeah. Hey, if people want to pay $5 to see my keto dump, I'll do it. I don't care. Hey, I showed the picture that time when I did the TNA pretzel. I don't have the picture handy, but, for people that don't know, when TNA, towards their end before Dixie got rid of it, this is a true story, and I have the proof. And you could actually do an advanced Twitter search for me and just type in the word pretzel for my name, Don Tony Dean. You'll see it.
Oh my God.
I took a dump in my office, several years ago, probably like 4 or 5 years ago. And when I got up to wipe my ass, I looked down in the bowl, and it was the shape of a pretzel. And it was funny because I had just said on one of the episodes we did like the week before, I was like, wow, the storylines are all twisted like a pretzel. And the God, is looking down on me, and he's like, okay, I'm gonna, do some magic, and you're gonna crap out a pretzel. So I saw it, and I'm like, people won't. If I just take a picture of the crap, people won't believe that it's mine. So I took a piece of paper, I wrote my name on it, I took the paper, put it in the bowl, and before all the ink would get all washed up, I took a picture of it, and it looked exactly like a pretzel. It was the TNA shit pretzel. So
ironically,
that I should have sold.
Did you have pretzels before you did that?
No. Oh. I took a dump. And then just the way it came out, because in my office, the water levels, this is what sucks. I mean, anybody that follows Trump, lately he's talking about how he's going to take away the water restrictions for like showers and toilets and dishwashers. Well, in my office, everything has got that setting where you conserve water. So my my toilet bowl, the water is about half as high as it should be. And so when you take a dump sometimes, I don't know if anybody's ever had this happen, but you take a dump, but the water level's too low, so all the crap is sitting on the white ceramic part of it, and it's not floating in water. And that's what happened. And I guess as it's hitting the ceramic, as it's coming out of my butt, it shaped as a pretzel. It's a real picture. So amazing.
I do remember that, but I didn't think we were going to go there. When I said, what you think of Shotzi's career? I didn't think it was going to go to this, but this is a classic DTKC.
Yeah, well, that's why another reason why I wanted to do YouTube, because a lot of people have no idea about any of these stories, so we get to share it in good fun. And I hope people see that I'm cutting down a little bit of the strong language.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was kind of surprised you were telling this story.
Yeah. Well, I don't even know how we got on that, but
I said, what do you think of Shotzi's career potential? And yet we brought up shit.
Well, I tell you, to me, Beth Phoenix, because she busted her head open pretty good, and I give credit also to Bianca Belair, because
she was good.
Bianca Belair, when she went in the back, she immediately apologized to Beth Phoenix, even though it was just, I don't even want to say it's her fault. It just freak thing
happens.
And Bianca Belair immediately went on to social media and talked on how tough Beth Phoenix is. So she showed a lot of respect immediately, even though she didn't have to do that. But if you take away Beth Phoenix's bloody head and doing everything that she did, Bianca Belair to me was the star of the Royal Rumble. I know Shayna Baszler eliminated a lot of people as well, but Bianca Belair showed a lot today. And, she had a really good performance. You could see that WWE definitely has a lot invested in Bianca Belair for 2020.
Yeah, she's great. I mean, I don't know anybody, maybe they don't like her personality or whatever, but I see some hate she gets, but I think she's fantastic.
Yeah. I was a little surprised of how they had Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville eliminated so early, only because right before the match, they cut a promo in the back, and Sonya Deville said that she cares about her partner so much that if it came down to her and Mandy Rose, she would eliminate herself, Sonya Deville.
Yeah.
So my immediate thinking is, okay, now one of them has to eliminate the other, because Mandy Rose even had that thought for a minute, like, wow, she just said that. I don't know if I feel the same way, but we didn't get that. Instead, we have Mandy Rose. She gets knocked out of the ring and Otis is holding her. And then Sonya Deville is like distracted a little bit and somebody knocks Sonya over and they both fall to the floor. And I'm like, why even do that promo in the back and then not have that happen at all? To me, the promo, especially after what happened, made zero sense whatsoever. None at all. But
yeah, I thought too there'll be something to it. Mandy had a decent showing. Sonya again, still trying to find a way, in my opinion.
Yeah, but it was a decent match. It wasn't my favorite of the night. The final three came down to Beth Phoenix, Charlotte, and Shayna Baszler. I don't think anybody thought Beth Phoenix was going to win. Go figure. The final four in each Royal Rumble, we had a husband and wife. Beth Phoenix on the women's side and Edge on the men's side.
Interesting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But in the end, Charlotte eliminates Shayna Baszler, and Charlotte cutting the promo. To me, it was a little bit of a crappy ending. I didn't like the ending. at all.
Yeah, the crowd didn't really give her the accolade she might have deserved, or maybe they thought she didn't deserve. I don't know. Again, I think we all can admit Charlotte's real good, but I think there's a portion of the crowd that resents the push, and I think we're going to continue to see that, TT.
Yeah. Again, it wasn't a bad match. I want to see where it goes here. Obviously Charlotte is going to tease who she's going to face for a couple of weeks. So even if it ends up that Ronda Rousey does return, they have several weeks. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if Charlotte doesn't make her decision until after Saudi Arabia is done with.
Well, DT, when is Elimination Chamber scheduled for?
Someone in the chat, could you pull up the date for Elimination Chamber? I don't have it in front of me. But
okay. It's February, right?
Yeah, it's the actually, you know what? I think Elimination Chamber is the third Sunday in February because I think it's Saudi Arabia, and then the following week it's Elimination Chamber. And no, excuse me. I think Elimination Chamber is like March 6th.
Is it?
Yeah, I think so. Because I think Elimination Chamber is 2 weeks after Saudi Arabia, because I remember when I was looking at the pay-per-view predictions contest for Patreon for next month, I'm like, wait a minute, what's the pay-per-view for next month? Some people thought it was going to be Fastlane. Yes, thank you, Des Connor. March 8th is Elimination Chamber.
Oh, okay.
So the only pay-per-view in February is Saudi Arabia and NXT.
That's right. Yeah. Okay. So first week of March, then they take a break till Mania. So they got basically a 4-week break till Mania. 3 weeks.
Yeah.
4 weeks.
So you're going to see some storylines rushed after Saudi Arabia.
They're going to have to. Yeah, they're going to have to.
Yeah. Shout out to Andre, who does some photography work, telling me there's a guy, Gary Vaynerchuk, who curses in every video on all platforms and still is fine. He says, he's basically saying, express ourselves any way we want.
Oh, okay.
Andre, I'll be honest with you. If I didn't say that I was trying to cut down on cursing, I don't think anybody would notice. I want to make these shows as big as possible and as appealing. And if that means just cutting out a couple of curse words here and there, I mean, if anybody noticed, I did use quite a few expletives tonight already. But, you got to tweak it a little bit. You don't want to have any issues. I don't want this project to fail. But, I appreciate that. That's good to know, especially if something really pisses me off about wrestling and I want to go on a verbal tirade. But next we had Bayley beating Lacey Evans to retain the Smackdown championship. Notice I didn't say women's. It is what it is. I mean, where does Lacey Evans go?
Basic Bayley.
I never felt this feud. You could see when we were talking about it earlier, they needed Sasha Banks to be involved also to try to give any type of heat, a sympathy towards Lacey Evans, because it wasn't that long ago that Lacey Evans was refereeing that god-awful match with Baron Corbin and Seth Rollins. True. I mean, look, that video of Lacey Evans with that guy online that, I forget, he had autism or something. That was wonderful.
Yeah, he was a professional weightlifter, but he had autism.
Yeah. I mean, look, we always knew that Lacey Evans was a classy person outside of wrestling, but when you're watching wrestling live or on television, you literally are supposed to shut down all the outside stuff and focus of the person in the ring. If you let that creep in, then you don't get as invested in the storylines. And they really had a hard time trying to change Lacey Evans into just a sympathetic babyface. That's why they had to drag her daughter in this storyline and trying to make Bayley look absolutely terrible and Sasha Banks and this and that. I mean, they tried. God bless them for trying. I don't find fault in Lacey Evans in this at all because her matches have been okay. It was just a feud. I remember it wasn't too long ago that people thought that Dana Brooke was finally getting a push. And I remember she got that win on SmackDown and people like, you see, they're finally going to give the ball to Dana a little bit. I'm like, are you kidding me? I mean, I've watched wrestling long enough to know that somebody is just being there to be the sacrificial lamb. And, By the way, Dana Brooke tonight, when she got super kicked from Tamina, now she could blame the super kick when she walks around with like a goldfish with her mouth.
Oh, Jesus.
I mean, seriously. I mean, it's just like, she sees it. It looks like she's sucking on lemons all the time. And I have nothing personal against Dana Brooke, but when you see, I mean, there were a lot of people online today who were kind of annoyed watching Dana Brooke getting the upper hand on Bianca Belair and some others out there, and she's not good. They got so many women in NXT. It's like, all right, the rumors of her banging Batista and her boyfriend died and all this stuff. Like she seems like a nice person on the outside, but this is a business. And Dana Brooke, you could flex during intermission all you want and all that stuff. I'm not feeling it. They tried to do the thing with Drake Maverick and her, and it's like, bring somebody else from NXT up and please just let her go. Let her go to Caitlyn route and do fitness photos and eating right online. And it's nothing personal against her, but this is an entertainment company and this is a business. And Dana Brooke, to me, is taking up a spot of somebody who could possibly really shine. I've said this for over a year now, that the women's division feels like the 4 horsewomen and everybody else, Yeah. And sure, NXT women their roster is probably the best women's roster in the United States for any company.
Amazing. Definitely.
But why use that spot? I mean, it just feels like sometimes these promotions, I almost think they feel bad to let somebody go or to criticize them. I mean, you got, Shit Baker on Wednesday who cuts that god-awful promo that's already recorded. And it feels like nobody in the back of AEW had the nerve to say to her, listen, Britt, we're not going to air that promo, but we're going to build it for another 2 weeks where you win by questionable means, and then you'll have the confrontation with Tony Schiavone, and then you do that. Yeah. But instead, they air it on TV anyway, and, she's happy that she's trending, but she's trending because, like I said, with a car accident, sometimes a car accident happens, you can't help but to stare at it. So it's like, I don't understand. I don't know why Dana Brooke is still taking up that spot that so many women, have that opportunity in NXT, and they don't get that opportunity. I know it sounds only like one woman. We could come up with other names as well, but I'm just not feeling it with her. I think it's time that they cut ties with her. Let her, maybe go to Japan or... You really think that, DT? You think really outright release her? I do. I don't think she would go to Japan because all the stiff shots she get from the women, her face would be like, I mean, she looks like she's sucking a lemon already. But it's not against her personally. And I'm sure there's some people that are not going to be happy with what I say. But again, this is an entertainment company.
So you just don't see babyface, heel, new gimmick. You just don't think she's got it.
No. Every couple of months.
That's fair. I mean, listen,
it's my time. It's my time.
Opinion.
It's my time. It's my time. It's my time. It's not her time. The only time is time for her to go. Just the way I feel. Again, it's nothing personal. I don't like to see anybody out of a job. But when you see that roster in NXT and you see Toni Storm and Bianca Belair and others selling for her in that ring, I know it's only for a couple of minutes and I know everybody's a team player, but there's about 20 women on the NXT roster right now that would put rings around her if they got the opportunity to go to the main roster. And yet they don't do it. You mean to tell me one person in NXT can't be brought up in place of her? I know some women have to be the one to eat the pin over and over and over and over again, but man, what a waste of a roster spot, in my opinion. I'm not trying to be a jerk in any way, but this is an entertainment company. It's World Wrestling Entertainment. It's not World Wrestling. Let's give somebody 18 shots. Yeah. I didn't like it, but I like the super kick today. When Tamina nailed her, I'm like, good.
Would you say
as
she's
a wrestling fan, not personally, whatever.
Would you say she's the new version of Rosa Mendez, who was here 7 years and we didn't realize it?
Rosa was with the Colognes and, Rosa, I actually liked Rosa Mendez. Mendez.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't put it in because Rosa Mendez didn't get the wrestling opportunity like some others. And it wasn't like every couple of months, it's my time, it's my time, it's my time, it's my time. I don't know who I compare her with. But, we got to see Chelsea Green today for a cup of coffee. She came.
I like her. And Dakota Kai, too, not too long.
Dakota Kai. Yeah, there were a few NXT stars. But to me, tonight, the two women that really shine, Kairi Sane had a couple of moments, too. And, they eliminated her, to me, a little bit too quickly. But Beth Phoenix for, just working through that gash in her head, and Bianca Belair. Those two really showed me a lot. Shayna Baszler was dominant as well. But
she was cool, yeah.
Yeah. But, Charlotte gets the win, and she goes on to challenge for the Women's Championship in Mania, whoever she chooses. So, next we had Daniel Bryan losing to the Fiend in a strap match. Very physical. As we said earlier, they left the lights on, to really show, the scars of having that match. It was okay, but to me, because I just felt that there was no way Daniel Bryan was going to win, it just, it was just like waiting for the end to happen. Like, they tried to tease a little bit that Daniel Bryan may actually get the win, and the crowd was into it. But to me, just something felt like it was missing in this match.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think, again, he soundly defeated Daniel Bryan again for, the second time on a pay-per-view. Do you think Daniel Bryan is completely out of the picture now at this point, DT, even though he's one of the most over baby faces they have, who gets that big reaction and yes chance and stuff? We were talking about it before. Where does Daniel Bryan go from here?
Well, like I said, we got Saudi Arabia. So, is he completely out of the heavyweight title picture? Probably. Maybe he gets one more shot at the Fiend. Maybe it happens on SmackDown. Who knows? Maybe it does happen in Elimination Chamber. Maybe they have one more match, and whoever comes out on top faces the winner of the Elimination Chamber to go on. Or, better yet, maybe Daniel Bryan is in the Elimination Chamber as one of the participants to get the title shot against Daniel Bryan, against the Fiend at WrestleMania. If Daniel Bryan challenges for the heavyweight title anymore, it's either going to be one more time and lose, or he'll be in an Elimination Chamber match and lose that as well. I don't see him getting a heavyweight title anytime soon. The crowd is behind him. I just, and I'm not saying it to disappoint anybody. It's just the gut feeling inside. I just feel that when now the road to WrestleMania, they may give the aura that Daniel Bryan is still, in line for a shot, but I just don't see that it's going to happen.
But overall, would you say decent match? Better than the last match they had, DT?
Yeah. I mean, because the physicality of the strap, told a good story, and they used the strap the right way. Bray Wyatt tormenting him was great. And they had that stare down, and Daniel Bryan started whipping him, and he, Bray Wyatt is just standing there taking it. It was good visuals, and, him getting the abrupt victory, I think, was the right way to go. They tried to play it off after the Daniel Bryan was injured, from it and had to be helped out. That's just to put some of the appreciation back to Daniel Bryan for the match, but I don't think there was any doubt at all of the Fiend retaining, especially when we heard that he's probably going to face Kane in Saudi Arabia. Although it would have been interesting to see Daniel Bryan take on Kane, for the title because of their history with Hell No. But, it is what it is, Daniel Bryan got his shot. I wouldn't be surprised if they try to revisit Daniel Bryan and The Miz again, or maybe Daniel Bryan and Morrison. But I still have that feeling that I said the week that Morrison came back. I thought Morrison and Miz versus New Day for the tag titles is going to happen. Maybe it happens in Saudi Arabia. Maybe it happens Elimination Chamber. But if Miz and Morrison do not win the belts, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a Morrison-Daniel Bryan feud.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Next, we had Becky Lynch versus Asuka. I think everybody will take from this match, those Asuka kicks in the middle of the ring.
Yeah.
That was a real nice visual, and Becky taking it. It was a great match. But again, you know, I brought this up Friday. Asuka's a tag team champion right now.
Yeah. Nothing to lose.
Nothing to lose. Yeah, nothing to lose. And, you know, the idea that some people thought that Becky Lynch may really be having contract issues with WWE is insane.
Yeah,
she's locked with WWE. And this storyline, like, I need to prove myself. I need to do this. I need. Do you think that this wasn't a John Cena segment where John Cena loses after he says over and over again, I need to win. And then he loses to The Rock, and then he's sitting in the rampway, and he's like, I don't know where I go from this point, and blah, 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 blah. And then Brock Lesnar's music hits. Becky Lynch had to win this match because now all is good again. And she's still the champion. And Charlotte won. So, ooh, look, the stars are all starting to align, and Asuka is still a champion. So,
yeah. Everybody wins.
Everybody wins. You know, I think, again, it was an excellent match. You put the men's Royal Rumble match aside, Becky Lynch and Asuka probably would have been my favorite match tonight. They went long. They told a great story. I'm glad they did not have Kairi Sane get as involved as, you know, I thought that they were. You know, no embarrassment in Asuka losing in this match. They did a great job. What'd you think of the match overall?
Agreed. I agree with you. You know, I put the Reigns Corbin match as one of my favorites, but honestly, you're right. Thinking about it, reflection, that was probably the second best match, well, to me, next to the men's Rumble. It was a good match. Becky got a decisive win, which is what she needed to get. Like you said, DT, for all the planets to align and everything to go right in the world. And with that group of women, Asuka, again, nothing to lose. She's tag team champions and pretty dominant tag team champions with Kairi Sane. Kairi's cleared to wrestle again a couple weeks ago. So they're fine. And Becky will be fine. And now they can move on. And this was a year in the waiting. People talked about it. She never beat Asuka. Asuka beat her ass last year. She's got to get that win back.
Yeah.
And she got it tonight decisively. End of story. Everybody moves on. No problem.
And if you think of the storyline, if we do have Charlotte Becky again in Mania or the three-way, if Becky goes into the road to WrestleMania losing to Asuka, if you just think ahead of the storyline, then you almost would think like she's got to become victorious somewhere in this. And her, if she would have lost here, it would have inflated her chances of winning at Mania. So by her winning here, now all is good in the Becky camp again. Now there's a better chance of Becky losing at WrestleMania. I'm not saying that she should lose or she should win, but the more you're undecided of who's going to win and who's going to lose, that's what makes the most fun matches to enjoy. When you really don't know who could come out on top, those you enjoy the most. I was very surprised at how many people tonight really thought Asuka had a chance of winning that belt. I just never saw it because even if she loses, she's still a champion.
Yeah.
Asuka don't need no two belts to be one of the best stars in WWE. I would like to see Asuka versus Kairi Sane down the line. I actually think that would be an interesting match, but
yeah, down the road, I think let them ride out a little bit longer with this tag team. I think it's a good tag team. It started out, we were all skeptical, especially when Paige was managing them, but they were baby faces then. When I really turned full-fledged heel, now they're a dominant tag team, and now it's like, okay, who's going to beat them now? And they might have to come up with a new, concoction there of women to team up, because I don't think Fire and Desire is going to beat them. I don't think the Iconics going to come back as baby faces and beat them. I've heard rumblings about that.
Iconic.
Yeah, I know. I've heard rumblings.
They were, where are they?
Yeah. Oh my God! But so yeah, I mean, everybody wins in this equation. DT, you're right. It was the way to go, and it was a great match.
By the way, I want to shout out one person that I should have done a couple of weeks ago.
Okay.
But I want to shout out one of our listeners who you may actually remember his name because he goes back to the hotline days, and it didn't hit me until later on, but. One of our listeners tonight is Greg in Brooklyn. And I remember him calling my hotline back in the 90s. And very, very cool to see Greg in Brooklyn, still a wrestling fan and tuning in. And I know some of you in the chat room right now are interacting with Greg. So shout out to Greg. But
yeah, shout out to Greg.
By the way, shout out to everybody listening live, whether it's Discord or YouTube. And thank you very much for allowing us the first 10 minutes to iron out a couple little things. I mean, some people listening or watching this later on, you probably would have never even known that there were any issues, but incorporating Discord audio, which is what Kev is on right now, to this is not as easy as you think, because when you have two audio sources going in at the same time and it's going through a mixer, which my microphone goes in and out of, you end up with echo. And, you know, the easy way to get out of that is to just not use Discord, but we do know that we have enough of an audience that want to be on Discord and be audio only. So, you know, I'm trying my hardest to make sure everything works perfectly. The good thing is, if what you're seeing and hearing right now sounds fine, all I got to do is save these settings later, and going forward, we should have no issues anymore.
Awesome.
You know, keep in mind, I'm not even on YouTube for 2 weeks yet. It feels like it's 2 years. I mean, just things are just so fast right now, and I'm learning on the fly. And everybody, whether you're in the chat room, whether you keep silent, whether I don't even know you exist, you know, thank you. And by the way, for some of you asking, what am I wearing? If anybody's on Patreon, you saw this earlier, but, you know, I know you can't see it, Kev, but for people that wanted to see what I was wearing tonight, because now people are getting into my shirts, this is Beavis and Butthead Wrestling. You know, that principal guy, whatever his name is. So,
how old is that shirt?
Yeah. So I used to be able to do him really, really good, but I can't think about it before doing it. Otherwise, it'll suck. But
oh, God.
Anyway, main event,
final match of the
men's Royal Rumble. You know, we had a couple of surprises. It was nice to see Morrison back in there. We got to see MVP for a brief moment.
Yeah, that was a surprise.
Yeah, I mean, Keith Lee having the showdown with Brock Lesnar was fun, because Brock Lesnar, I don't know if anybody reads lips, but first he said, Lou, look at this big boy. And then later on, Brock Lesnar looked at Paul Heyman and said, who is this motherfucker?
I know. I said that. Did he say what I think he said? We were joking.
Yeah.
This guy, that was funny. Who's this motherfucker? That should be captioned tomorrow. With the graph. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, Matt Riddle, you know, I don't know if he was eliminated quickly because of what happened earlier in the night with Brock Lesnar backstage. You know, look, when you hear about these backstage incidents, you know, a lot of times, I know that there's a lot of eyes backstage, but, you know, you can't always be 100% certain that things are how they seem to appear. Now, look, Brock Lesnar doesn't have many friends backstage. So the chances are of Brock Lesnar saying something, you know, towards Matt Riddle's way for what Matt Riddle has said in the past, it wouldn't surprise me if it was a legit confrontation. But, you know, do I see Matt Riddle versus Brock Lesnar anytime soon? Absolutely not. But I think the story tonight is Brock Lesnar eliminating so many wrestlers from the get-go. He eliminated, 10? I mean, just tossing them out, like throw 1-2 moves, get rid of them, get rid of them, get rid of them. I think people were surprised that Kofi got eliminated without doing one of his saves. But at least Kofi lasted a lot longer with Brock Lesnar tonight compared to the title match where Kofi lost. Principal McVicker. Yes, that's who it was. I can't do it right now, but you know, look, he tossed Morrison, he tossed Kofi Kingston, Eric Rowan. I would have loved to Brock Lesnar just take that fucking cage and throw it against the wall, and then we find out whatever it is. You know, we didn't even see that. Robert Roode tossed away. And yeah, Big E got tossed pretty good. Cesaro. I enjoyed the Shelton Benjamin moment.
Me too.
And the Nakamura moment. Because Shelton Benjamin came into wrestling with Brock Lesnar. They both came out of Minnesota.
They were roommates.
Mm-hmm. That reuniting was legit. Paul Heyman talking about being proud of him. You know, that's legit. It was a wonderful moment. You knew Brock Lesnar was going to turn on him because that's the only way to go.
Oh yeah, you kind of knew that.
Yeah. And a lot of people may not realize that Nakamura fought Lesnar in, I think, 2004 for the IWGP Championship.
That's right.
In
That's
Japan.
right. Yeah.
That's 16 years ago. Nakamura and Lesnar faced off. Lesnar got the win. I think back then he called the F5 the verdict because he couldn't call it the F5. Outside of WWE.
Dude, that was 16 years ago?
Yeah, I think it was 2004. If anybody could double check that, because I don't have it in front of me. I think it was 2000. You know what? I know what it was. It was 2006, because it's the same year that I was doing some indie wrestling stuff, because I remember we were talking about Lesnar on one of the indie shows that I was on. It was 2006.
2006.
Yeah. But,
wow. Still a
yeah,
long time.
so
What about
Rey Mysterio? With the Batman mask, which I thought was pretty cool.
And Brock Lesnar dancing a little bit when MVP's music was playing. That was kind of funny.
Yeah. Look.
He was having fun at the one point.
He was having
But,
fun.
yeah.
Again, nothing against MVP, but he should be on the TNA reunion show. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Let him do that. It's like, I would have, as much as even though I didn't want to see this person tonight, I would have rather have seen Santino be in both Royal Rumbles instead of MVP having that spot. Because, yeah, look, his theme song is catchy, with the clock, I'm balling, and all this other stuff. But I don't think the fans cared at all. And he was eliminated like this. So I would have just put Santino in that spot instead of MVP. But again, I don't understand why Otis was not in this Royal Rumble.
Yeah, imagine. Even him getting a few minutes with Brock and maybe him getting a little bit of the upper hand would have really popped the crowd. He could have did so much. You're right, DT. That's a mystery. Why was they involved him? They got him involved with Mandy and stuff. He got to make the cut to get some camera time on the Rumble, but why wasn't he in the Rumble?
Yeah.
I don't get it. I don't get one of the most over guys on SmackDown. Their main show to a degree. So toss-up, which is their main show at this point, Raw, SmackDown. But yeah, Otis not being in the Rumble and having that moment, I don't get it.
No, I don't. But again, this whole Royal Rumble was to set up Brock Lesnar dominating, because again, I was very shocked at how many people thought that Brock Lesnar was going to stay in the entire Royal Rumble. I will say this. Yes, he eliminated people very quickly and would have some respites during, each entry, but he was in there a lot longer than I expected him to. And, as it went along and it started to sort of feel annoying, like, okay, this is not clicking like Diesel in the mid 90s. Yeah. But after a while, you started feeling it like whoever eliminates this son of a bitch is going to get a crazy pop. When Keith Lee entered the ring and they had a little bit of back and forth, Keith Lee's music hit. He got awesome pop, bigger pop than I thought. And he's my favorite NXT wrestler. Anybody that listens to me on a weekly basis, way before Keith Lee got on the radar by a lot of fans, I've been saying favorite NXT wrestler since middle of last year. Telling you, he just reminds me, he's got that Dusty Rhodes feel to me. I know they're not this anywhere near the same. Just the Dusty Rhodes type of love that I have for this guy. I really appreciate him. He did a great job today. Got eliminated a little bit sooner than I thought he would, but it was needed at that time because of Drew McIntyre. When Drew McIntyre eliminated Brock Lesnar again, I will tell me. I don't think that you could give me 5 other times where crowds reacted on that magnitude. To me, having a sudden elimination gets a bigger pop than somebody who comes out unexpectedly. I was wondering how many people thought that Booker T was in the Royal Rumble, because when they hit his entrance music, I think some people immediately thought, oh my God, Booker T's in the Royal Rumble. But then he was just a guest announcer, commentator.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I enjoyed it. I mean, I could arguably say, and I know I'm overlooking some Royal Rumbles right now, but as far as beginning to end, telling a story. I put this Royal Rumble match in my top 5 of all time. I don't know why.
Top 5 out of how many years Royal Rumble? 30?
Well, it started what, 1988?
Yeah, 88.
Yeah, so we're at 32 or 33 years. I put it in my top 5. So shout out to Roel Pena. So, you saw the Don Tony sign as well, and he actually just got back from the Royal Rumble, and he said people booed Charlotte big time, but it did not come across that way on television. Yeah, I think WWE fans wanted to see someone other than the 4 horsewomen in, that spot for WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And Charlotte's my favorite over the last 10 years. I think she's the number 1 woman in the United States in the last 10 years. She's got all the tools. Becky Lynch, I know, is a lot of people's favorites as well, but Becky Lynch over a 10-year period does not have anywhere near, the resume. And it's not just title wins. It's just a lot more than that. Becky, last 2 years, without a doubt, but I look at it more over the long haul. Even with that, I don't know if I would want to see, Charlotte with that win. But, when Drew McIntyre eliminated him, I just had that feeling, even though I said this Friday too, Drew McIntyre did not need to win the Royal Rumble today to face Lesnar at WrestleMania because we had Elimination Chamber. You don't even need to have Elimination Chamber happen to have Brock Lesnar's opponent. Brock Lesnar could have simply come out on Raw, Paul Heyman get on the mic, and challenge Drew McIntyre. It's going to make Drew McIntyre famous. Give him that opportunity at WrestleMania. They could have done that. So Drew McIntyre could have still gotten that shot for the title, even if he would have lost the Royal Rumble today. But him winning this is what I said Friday, him winning this shows that Brock Lesnar pretty much will probably have nothing to do with the Elimination Chamber. We will probably not have a Raw Elimination Chamber for, the heavyweight title or him defending the title. Who knows? Maybe he would be an Elimination Chamber. If he is, he'll probably be the last one to come out of the pod. And, 10 minutes later, 5 minutes later, he's the winner. But I'm really happy. I mean, look, I'm happy I got every match prediction right tonight except for the Women's Rumble. I wanted Baszler, but I just felt it with Drew McIntyre. I know a lot of people thought it was nuts, and I know a lot of people didn't see it. But you could feel something organically growing with Drew McIntyre. And, I'm glad they did it this way because what I had said last week is I don't want Drew McIntyre versus Brock Lesnar now because there's no way Lesnar's losing that title before Mania. So him facing Lesnar now is a guaranteed loss. Now at Mania, you start thinking, could they possibly put the belt on Drew McIntyre? The only thing, though, is I think that match will probably be one of the first matches of WrestleMania.
Think so?
Yeah. It ain't closing out WrestleMania. No way, shape, or form. If the Fiend faces Reigns,
that'll close
I think it'll either be Fiend, Reigns to close out or the women once again.
You're right. I agree with you. You're right also about Drew not needing to win, but it was a good thing that he did.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was a good thing for his resume. It's a good thing for them now to say the 2020 Royal Rumble winner when they're plugging away and trying to get him more fanfare on TV. Especially Michael Cole gets behind him. They got to build up his fanfare a little bit more. Clearly, he does the countdown now before he does the Claymore kick. Yeah. So he's doing those little nuances now that he's a babyface. And all this time, they thought DT, and maybe, this guy's he's a killer heel. He comes out, he dominates, kills guys. That's what's going to get him over. 1, 2, almost 3 years. Never really worked. Yeah. Let's be honest. It was very ho-hum. Turn him fucking babyface. Let him interact. Joke with a kid at ringside. Make a silly comment to a kid. Go in the ring and then talk about people. Hey, you want to see me Claymore kick this guy? Who would have thunk it? You know what I mean? But for several years, he's this is how he's a killer heel. That's the way to go. No, get him to be interactive. Make some snide jokes. And the crowd's starting to like him, and I think it's going to pick up. And I expect a big ovation for him tomorrow night on Monday Night Raw. You think so, DT?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Drew McIntyre's pop when he eliminated Lesnar reminded me when Dolph Ziggler cashed in his briefcase and won the belt.
Yeah, good moment.
The crowd, the way they reacted. And the reason why I say that is because even when Ziggler cashed in the briefcase, Ziggler was not the top guy or anywhere near it at the time. And yes, you always pop at something you abruptly don't expect to happen. But the level of positivity towards Dolph Ziggler that night, and to see the fans love that as much, that's why I enjoyed this match so much tonight. Because Brock Lesnar needed to do what he did. He needed to destroy a lot of people. He needed to start getting people online to say, enough already. How many people? What is this? What they're going to do the whole Royal Rumble? Because as it got longer, whoever was going to eliminate him, fans are going to be like, thank you. And they let the person eliminate him, the person who won the whole thing. No. You don't understand. Look, is Drew McIntyre one of my favorites? No, not at all. But, I saw this a few weeks ago. Just a feeling. And to see Drew McIntyre go off the air, every spotlight on him, that's wonderful. Because that's someone, that's not the typical person you would see close out a pay-per-view. I loved it.
Me too.
But since we already said our favorite and least favorite match tonight, scale of 1 to 10, what do you give the Royal Rumble?
You know what? I'm going to give it a solid 8, DT. I'm going to give it an 8.
Yeah, I'll go with an 8. The Bayley-Lacey Evans match, was, plus, obviously the match it followed, we could understand that. But not only that, like the Roman Reigns Baron Corbin, even though it was a great match and a lot of people got involved and it was entertaining and told the right story it needed to tell, it was just the storylines. Those two matches, the storylines I wasn't invested in. And, unless it's like the first Buddy Murphy, Aleister Black match, where you're not invested in a storyline, but they tear it up so good that you end up loving it, they really had to do something extraordinary tonight for me to really get into those matches. I just found myself disinterested with both, but yeah, I give it a solid 8 too. I thought it was a very good pay-per-view.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I think we're going to finish it here because we've gone, it's got to be over an hour and a half.
Oh, but, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. But remember everyone, Monday night. Oh, and I mentioned this before. I'll say it again here and we'll plug it for a week or two. Starting tomorrow, the live show will go back to 11:15. And the reason being is because there's a lot of rumors that WWE is going to start overruns again, especially on the road to WrestleMania. Mm-hmm. So the last thing we want to do is advertise 11 o'clock, and then Raw is still on, and it's 11:05 and 11:07. And especially the fact that I just lost my train of thought because somebody's asking me about scrapping the Sheamus match. You obviously didn't see the pre-show. Sheamus did fight Shorty G and destroy him. But, just we don't want to advertise 11 o'clock and then it's 11:05 and 11:10, plus the fact that, we're going to have Discord going and YouTube going. Having that extra 5 to 7 minutes of preparation will make sure that all the kinks are ironed out before we go live. So mark it down starting tomorrow, back to 11:15, and, we'll stick to that 75-minute mark this way. Every Monday, 12:30 a.m. Eastern Standard, that's when we go off the air. And it'll be, a good 75 minutes. And, if that's not enough, you got Kev's shows Tuesday night, Kev Castle on Patreon every Tuesday. Wednesday is Wednesday Night Don-O-Mite. Breakfast Soup is probably going to be moved to the weekend. And I'll probably be back this Friday with more Q&A because it was so well received this past Friday. And once again, for our patrons, any YouTube shows, I'll always put audio editions on Patreon too. So any closing moments before we go? And I see that some people are tuning in late tonight because we talked quite a bit about Edge earlier. Unless, you know what? Since he's back, there's no reason why we can't talk about Edge a little bit more.
Yeah, why not? We're here. Let's do it.
Do you think they are going to team him and Orton up again and be rated RKO? Or do you think it's possible that they may not go the Randy Orton, AJ Styles route for Mania and maybe have Randy Orton versus Edge?
I was just going to say that, DT. After what happened, I'm thinking it's a match between Edge and Orton, and Edge maybe requesting it and maybe trusting Orton to have that kind of classic match for his big comeback at WrestleMania. Royal Rumble is much different than having a one-on-one match where the spotlight is all on the two opponents at Mania. It's a different animal, obviously. So I'm thinking Edge versus Randy. They'll have the little dissensions here and there, maybe make up for the Elimination Chamber or something, and then Randy gets the best of Edge. Edge got the best of him tonight. Randy's got to get his comeuppance on Edge, and then they go to WrestleMania as opponents. That's what I'm thinking, DT.
I loved how he soaked in the crowd reaction when he first came out. You could see that he was overwhelmed. It was wonderful.
Do you like that? He looks a lot. He's older in the face. He looks grizzled, but he looks cool. He looks tougher. Edge. He looks like he's hardened a little bit. He looks tougher. You know, I like the look. I like that kind of caveman, kind of wild man look. I like this look with the beard and the harder looking face. I thought he looked, and his body looked excellent. His built. Randy Orton was even doing, hey, washboard abs. Did you see that? They're interacting a little bit, but Edge looks fantastic. And it's me and Draper always had. Draper never liked him, so me and my brother would always argue about that. I was a big Edge fan, and he'd give me a hard time. But I don't know, I just don't like him. I'm like, Edge was always one of my favorites. I thought he was so underrated in the annals of history. Made the Hall of Fame so early, DT, when you think about it, because he had to retire early. Yeah. What was his last match against Del Rio, right?
2011,
last match,
yeah. 2011.
Yes, but he looked great. I thought Edge is new. Like, he looked good. I liked the way his presence was good. Wasn't one of those guys coming back. Didn't look right. Ring rust. Looked fantastic, and the crowd soaked it in.
If I had to change one little thing tonight, I wish he would have dyed his beard a little bit.
Think so?
You know, I don't know. You know, like Goldberg, the same thing. I don't know if they, you know, I don't like gray. You know what I mean? I mean, my hair's not gray or anything, but I don't like gray. And, you know, like, I don't know if they intentionally leave it, because when you go back and you look at the video, you know, gray Goldberg is when he returned. Gray Edge is when he returned. But I thought he was awesome tonight. And not just because of nostalgia. He hit a lot of beautiful spears. It's interesting because Roman Reigns does the spear. It's interesting when people come back and other people are using those finishers as their finishers. Look, Lesnar uses it too. Doesn't Strowman use a spear also?
Yeah, we didn't even talk about him tonight, and he was a non-entity.
He was really he's been a non-factor for a while. I'm telling you, man, ever since they did that crap with Nicholas, I just haven't looked at Strowman the same. I don't mind if he's friendly and, you know, lighthearted and stuff like that, but you can't turn that faucet on and off that quickly. If you're going to try to make us think he's this unstoppable monster, you know, then you got to stick with that. You know, you can't just, you know, all because he looks upset, you know, you just don't feel it. You don't buy it. Maybe we'll see Keith Lee versus Strowman at Mania.
That would be nice.
You know, but I'll say this. As I was watching Edge tonight, and I don't know if anybody else felt this way too, but I felt bad for Christian. Makes me wonder how Christian, I don't know if Christian's at peace at the fact that he's not wrestling right now. I really felt a little bad for Christian. Maybe he was totally ecstatic about Edge returning and, you know, but just as I saw Edge there, I felt bad because Christian's in the commentating booth and he, you know, doesn't have that opportunity also. Just, you know, I just had Christian on my mind tonight a little bit.
Maybe he'll get.
I don't know if anybody else did
down the road. Yeah, you always think of the two of them together. You know, Frick and Frack. They're so close. They're like brothers. I mean, the story is classic. Growing up as 10, 11-year-olds, hanging out, meeting each other in school, wrestling in school yards together, and now being together all these years in something they love. Two Hall of Famers. I know Christian's not there yet, but he'll get there.
Yeah.
Maybe even this Hall of Fame Christian will be. And it's in Florida. Christian's from Florida.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, look, I totally understand Resurgence and others, you know, Christian with the concussions, but doesn't mean I still don't feel bad for the guy. I mean, you know, and you are watching, you know, somebody who you know, so involved with in the business making that return and soaking it in, and you can't do that too. I'm sure Christian was extremely ecstatic for Edge today.
Oh, yeah,
but I think on one side, it bothers people, and it's sad to see people, that you admired and enjoyed, whether it's, put the tragedy aside today, but even a baseball player or a sports player that retires, and you just missed him. I mean, Jeter just got announced for the Hall of Fame, and I see these teens and 20-somethings that never watched the guy play or barely watched him at all, and they're trying to write online that he doesn't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. I mean, I'm a Mets fan, but my God, I lived through Jeter playing every day, and it's like, you reminisce, and you're like, man, I can't believe it's that many years gone by since this or year. It's just, it's a little saddening, and I really had Christian on my mind tonight a little bit, so, It is what it is, but great Royal Rumble tonight. I think we gave it, its due. We went pretty long with this, so don't expect Royal Rumble conversation tomorrow night because we covered it here. Yeah, it'll be a very easy show. Raw, get into a couple of tidbits over the weekend, and it's pretty much it. But for everybody tuning in, whether it's YouTube or Discord, same channel. Tomorrow night, 11:15 p.m. Eastern. We should have no technical issues. And any final words before we go?
Yeah, no, this was fun tonight. Thank you to everybody on Discord. Thank you, YouTube listeners. Thank you, Don Tony, for the patience and fixing out the little, we kind of maybe expected there to be glitches or, things have to be test patterned, and hope we got it down packed now and no problems, man. But I appreciate it and appreciate everybody who listened tonight and enjoyed. Thank you, everybody, and I really mean that.
All right, Kev. I'll talk to you tomorrow night.
Catch you tomorrow. Peace out.
Take it easy. All right, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And once again, Monday night, 11:15 p.m. Eastern after Raw, you can catch myself and Kev Castle with the Don Tony and Kevin Castle Show. Please send your feedback as always. You can follow me on Twitter at DonTonyD. And please, let us know what you thought about the Royal Rumble. Look at everybody's comments. And that's pretty much it. Have a great night, everybody. Be well. Take care.
Don-O-Mite.
It was fun to channel surf. It was kind of hard to do a little pocket pool after you hitting the last channel button 50 times for 2 hours plus.
Don-O-Mite.
And his whole idea of overanalyzing, he's an alcoholic and he misplaced the belt. And how could you have someone champion like that? The fuck out of here.
Wednesday night.
Don-O-Mite. You can have fun.